Hello students, welcome back in this session. Today I am here with the chapter Microorganisms Friend and for class 8. Today we are going to study about another kind of microorganisms. So before going to start the chapter, let us recap of the previous lecture. So what we have learned in our previous lecture, we have learned about what virus. What is virus? So virus is actually a deadly microorganisms. It is a deadly microorganisms because it is the most harmful microorganism among all these microorganisms. So this is what is their habitat, why it is called living and non-living organisms, and most of the virus they are harmful, but some of them, like one virus that is called bacteriophage, which helps in sewage treatment, and some of that virus they are used to prepare vaccines for the preventive measure for the diseases. So that is about the previous lecture. Now move to the topic for the day. What is the topic of the day is about algae. So that means we are going to study about these kind of microorganisms that is called algae. It is the microscopic organisms and they are mostly aquatic in nature. It means they are found in water bodies. So students, might be you have seen algae around you. Like what happens if you find any kind of stagnant water near about you, you must have seen some kind of outgrowth on the surface of water, a greenish outgrowth as we can see in this picture, and that is algae. So, algae is found in the stagnant water. Must be you have seen that this kind of appearance, this kind of outgrowth on the surface of water, the stagnant water near about you, that is algae. So, algae is, I told you, microscopic organisms. So, you must have asked that, ma'am, if you said that it is microorganism, then how could we say this? So, yes, of course, students, according to their size, we can categorize them into unicellular or multicellular, because these algae are multicellular as well as unicellular. So what is their size? So their size ranges to 1 micron to 60 meter approximately. 60 meter approximately. So that means because of their size we can categorize into whether they are unicellular or multicellular. So yes, this because of their size the algae is maybe they are unicellular as well as they are multicellular. Okay, so let us know about what is basically a algae is. An algae is. So students, algae is basically a primitive plant. It is primitive plant and contains chlorophyll. Chlorophyll. These algae are primitive plants. They contain chlorophyll. So that is why, that means they conduct photosynthesis process. Okay. So now what is primitive? What do we mean by primitive plant? Primitive, we can say old kind of plant, old fashioned plant. They do not have a proper kind of structure the plant having, like they do not have roots, they do not have stem, leaf and other. Only they have what? They have chlorophyll. So they are primitive plant and having chlorophyll, so they conduct the photosynthesis process. So what is seen in the picture, students, what is seen in the picture is basically a seaweed. It is a seaweed, and these seaweeds are rich in different kinds of nutrients and minerals. Okay, so they are very much rich in many kind of nutrients and minerals. So they are basically a seaweed, and so that is why algae is a primitive plant which has chlorophyll and they conduct photosynthesis process. Now what is the what is the habitat of this algae? These algae, it is present usually in moist places. Okay, they are present in moist places, and also the places where little warmth is present. So that means basically they are found or they are found mostly in moist and little warmth places. So it can be found in pond, near the any water bodies, river, lakes, not exactly river, because these kind of organisms found in stagnant water, and river is a flowing water. So they cannot stand, they cannot accumulate over there, they might be flushed away with the water. So what is their habitat? They found near pond, their water surface, even on stones also. Near, if the stones found near about the water bodies, that stone also contains this kind of organism, that is algae. And also, even they are found in moist wood. They also found in moist wood. So like even you might have experienced, then whenever you go to any water bodies and you try to step on stones, they might be slippery. So why they are slippery? Because of this algae. Okay, that is why they are slippery. So now we move to the next part, that is the what is the structure of the body. So as we can see, that algae have a thyroid body. Okay, what do we mean by thyroid body? Thyroid body means they do not have true roots, stems and leaves. So that is thyroid body. So basically they are a flat surface, there is a flat body, they do not contain any true root, stem and leaves as the other higher plants having. So students, there is something specific about this algae, and what is that? Because these algae contains many kind of pigment like chlorophyll, different kind of chlorophyll they contain, pigment contains. So based on pigments present in algae, they are classified into various groups. So because of what kind of algae or what kind of pigments are present in the that algae, they are categorized in different groups. As you can see in this picture, the green algae, this is a common example, is Spirogyra. Many more, but Spirogyra is very common. So green algae, Spirogyra. As you can see in this picture, these Spirogyra is what? It is a flat body. Sorry, it is a straight body and they are segmented. Like if it is a flat body, okay, sorry, straight body, and they are segmented. Their body are segmented. And it is floating in the water like a ribbon. So they are straight ribbon like structure and they are segments 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the segments of these Spirogyra. So that is about green algae. Now the next is blue-green algae. It is Anabena. So students, what I told you just that about this algae, Spirogyra, they are microscopic. They are microscopic. Okay. So it means that these organisms are microorganisms. Because they are microscopic, they can only be seen under a microscope. Likewise only, this is blue-green algae, that is Anabena. If you can see this, this is the picture of Anabena, and these are living in colonies. Okay, so what about colonies? That I told you that these kind of plants are primitive plant and having chlorophyll, they are having thyroid body, multicellular or maybe unicellular. So Anabena is also a unicellular or a microscopic organism. So what happens? These algae maybe live alone, yeah, single. Okay, they maybe live single or as well as colonies. So what do we mean by colonies? Like lots of algae come together and make a group which is called colony. Like these are some different kind of or many number of algae, they come together and they make a group and which is called colonies. So these kind of algae maybe live in colonies or maybe live singly. So what happens if you take a pond water? Okay, if you take a pond water and put it into the microscope, you will find these kind of structure. Many more structure also could be found, but this kind of structure you will found if you take a pond water and look at into the or you can see with the microscope, then we can find this kind of structure. So Anabena is again a microscopic organism. It is also a microscopic. Now the next is brown algae. That means brown pigment is present in this algae, so it is brown. So fucus. Brown algae, a fucus. As you can see, this is the entire body of this fucus. that is a thallus body. They do not have any roots, stem and all. This is the entire body of the fucus, and this is the fucus. It is actually 60 centimeter long, 60 centimeter. So it may be, we can, sorry, not 60, 90 centimeter long. So it means now it is a multicellular organism. We can see them. Okay, so this is about the different kind of algae. Now more other red algae. Example, Polycyphonia. So this is an algae, and again it is a microscopic organism. We can see them under a microscope. So what is their structure is basically like this. Their structure is like this. So red algae, Polycyphonia. Then other one is golden brown algae. An example is diatom. This is the algae which have only, they have varied structure, right? You can see in this screen, this is also a diatom, a different structure. This is also again a different structure. These all are, so these all are diatoms, and they are different structure. And what about specific about this algae is they always live singly. They do not make a colony. They live alone, and they perform their all, what is their metabolic activities. And something, again, there is some specific about this brown algae. When you put this algae, or when you put light on that algae, you usually, that algae usually shine because of a certain element present which is called silica, and that silica has many uses. So this silica is actually found in the cell wall of these diatoms. That means the diatom cell wall is made up of silica. Many more other, so silica is present in the cell wall of diatoms, so that is why it shines. So that means silica property may be that when we put light on them, they illuminate and they shine. So diatom shines when we false light on them because of the presence of silica. Now, so what I told you that their size may be 1 micron to few meters, like 60 centimeter, 60 meter, not centimeter, 60 meter tak up we can found this kind of organisms. Now we move, what is their nutrition? As I told you that these algae having green pigment called chlorophyll, so definitely basically they having autotrophic mode of nutrition. So they are green pigment, that means their mode of nutrition is only autotrophic, not saprophytic, not parasitic and any other, rather they are having autotrophic mode of nutrition. So now the next about topic about how they reproduce. So these algae reproduce asexual mode and also by sexual mode method. That means they produce sexually and asexually. So asexual, two methods are there, fragmentation and one is binary fission. So what happens in fragmentation? As I told you just now about the structure of this Spirogyra. It is a thallus, it is a straight body and they are segmented. Okay. So what happens? These segments, it is called septa. This particular part is a septa, and here we can see the nucleus. So what happens, because of certain exertion, outer exertion, or some naturally their septa separates. When they separates, their fragments divides and they produce two daughter cells. That is fragmentation, and these fragment are capable to produce their own. So they produce like this again. So that is about fragmentation or asexual method of reproduction. The other one is binary fission. As you can see, example is diatoms. Here we can see that it is the diatom, and first what happens, because of a cell division, their body divides. So this is the parent body. This is the parent body, and this body divides into two parts. Binary means two. So into two parts, and so they produce two daughter cells. Their body divides, like their cytoplasm divides, the nucleus divides, and ultimately they become individual. So one parent body, they produce two individual or two daughter cells. Now these daughter cells again after maturation, they are also capable to produce their own kind. So like if you can see again, this also reproduced by the binary fission. So this is the method, asexual method, that is binary fission. That must you have seen in amoeba. There is another mode of, that is sexual reproduction. Here what happens? Gametes conjugates or gametes transfer. So that is how these the kind of organism they reproduce by asexual method or by sexual method. Now move to the next part, that is how these algae are beneficial. Okay, why these algae are beneficial? So these are beneficial as it is used as a fertilizers, like this Anabena and Nostoc. If you see Anabena and Nostoc, it is used as a fertilizers. Why? Because they helps to fix the nitrogen. We know that just in your first chapter you have learned about nitrogen cycle, in which we have taught you that how this gaseous nitrogen is fixed. So these are certain microorganisms, they fix the nitrogen, and that nitrogen helps to give different kind of that nitrogen compounds are utilized by the plants. So that is how they used as a fertilizers. They are food, not good, food for aquatic organisms. I told you about seaweeds. So these seaweeds are also the food items for aquatic organisms, because in the water bodies there are so other multicellular organisms are present, and these algae are or the seaweeds, they are the food for the aquatic organisms. And then they are, because why they are food for them? Because these algae का specific nature क्या है कि they contains lots of nutrients and minerals. That means they are rich in vitamins and minerals. So many kind of vitamin and minerals are present in them, like phosphate, protein. They are rich in protein. So if you can see that the people, those who are living in near coastal areas, they used these seaweeds as a food, like they use as a soup. In soup also they used these seaweeds into their food items to flourish or not or enhance the taste of the their food, because they are rich in protein. So they are the source of food for animals as well as aquatic organisms as well as the human beings also. Certain another kind of that algae which is the food for animals also. Okay, like their name is, let me tell you, spirulina, like something like that. They are also the food for animal human beings. They vitamins and minerals. Kelp, again students, this is the plant. They are 6 centimeter long. Kelp, it is the largest. It is, this kelp is algae, and these are that is okay. So that means these kelp are not microorganism, we can see them. So this is also the algae which is used as a food, and they are rich source of vitamins and minerals like sodium, like potassium, like iodine. They are rich in these kind of uh, items. And these seaweeds are, this kelp is actually a brown algae. Okay, these are brown algae. Even the aquatic animal, those who eat, they are also a brown algae. They are used as a food, and they are fodder for animals like laminaria. There is again another kind of algae which also helps, used as a fodder for animals. Now what is their industrial use? As we can see, agar, that is obtained from a red algae. Again it is from a red algae, and it is helps in production of jellies and cosmetics. So what happens during because if you want to prepare a jelly, need a gelatinous substance, and that gelatinous substance is agar, which is found from red algae. So it is used in making jellies as well as cosmetics. Then algin. Algin is used for preparing ice creams. Algin having a different kind of acid called alginic acid. Alginic acid. Okay, so this acid is used for making ice creams. Then diatoms, they are used in making filters, glasses and porcelain dishes. As I told you that this diatoms, their cell wall contains silica. Their cell wall contains silica, and that silica is used for making filter, glasses and porcelain dishes. So these are the certain beneficial uh, uh, thing about the algae, that is how these algae are beneficial. Now we can see what is their harmful effect. Now as we can see that uh, there is two major harmful effect of algae. The first one is eutrophication. What is eutrophication? If you have heard the word algal bloom, okay, algal bloom. What is algal bloom? What happens, as we can see in this picture, this is a water bodies. Okay, so what happens? We know that when we know that the farmers they use fertilizers. Just listen carefully. The farmers they utilize fertilizers in their field, so and they are rich in various kind of nutrients. So what happens during, because they, if they use excessive nutrients, so some of them are flushed away from that field to the river or lake through rainwater. दैट मीन्स जब बारिश होती है तो बारिश के थ्रू ये सारे जो एक्सेसिव न्यूट्रिएंट्स हैं फ्रॉम द फर्टिलाइजर्स वो कहाँ आ जाते हैं, वाटर बॉडीज़ में, एंड दे आर एक्चुअली अ पॉल्यूटेंट्स, एंड दीज आर द फेवरेबल कंडीशन और suitable for the groom of algae, or sorry, for the blooming of algae. So what happens then when these kind of nutrient wash away and flush away from the field to the river or to the water bodies, they become nutrients rich that habitat. So algae start flourishing in them and they are blooming in the surface of water. So what they do, they start growing on them, like the some kind of another aquatic plant, that duckweeds and algae, they start growing on this surface of water. So after what happens, because of the algal bloom, what happens, they are densely covered the surface of water, they densely covered the surface of water, so that sunlight do not reaches to the surface of water, to the bottom of the water. So what happens, because of that, the oxygen, the sunlight will not depleted into, sorry, not penetrated into the water bodies. What happens, they uses the oxygen depletion is start. ओके, बिकॉज ऑफ एल्गल ब्लूम ये इतना ज़्यादा डेंस हो जाता है कि सनलाइट जो है वो जो पानी का नीचे सरफेस है वहाँ तक नहीं पहुँच पाता, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट व्हाट हैपन्स, ऑक्सीजन डिप्लीशन स्टार्ट, because if sunlight is not penetrate, so certain organism they start do not do the photosynthesis process, some plants. So what happens, carbon dioxide concentration is increases, and because we know that certain animals they live there, they do not get oxygen because all these oxygens is used up by the algae. And gradually what happens, some the kind of animals and plants they died. So in this water bodies again there is some kind of decomposers. So what they do, they decompose the dead materials, and eventually what happens, carbon dioxide concentration is increases and oxygen depleted. So because of that what happens, it becomes death of that ecosystem, that water ecosystem. So जैसे ही ऑक्सीजन का लेवल ख़त्म हो जाएगा, ये जो वाटर बॉडीज़ है दे डिक्लेयर्ड एज अ डेड वाटर बॉडी और द इकोसिस्टम डेड. सो दैट इज़ हाउ जो भी यहाँ पे रहने वाले माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स और अदर यूजफुल aquatic plants or animals है, they become died, and what happens, there is no any living existence on this water surface. So that is the very major harmful effect of this eutrophication or this algae. So as you can see in this picture, this is algal bloom. Okay, now another kind of the harmful effect of this algae is, there is one algae called oscillatoria. This oscillatoria, they produce toxics, they produce toxic in water and make water unfit for drinking. That means these algae oscillatoria produce some kind of toxin which is poisonous substance, and the or the plants which live in the water, they could not survive because these water unfit for drinking because of the toxic. So that is the harmful effect of algae. So students, today we have talked about different aspects of algae. So I hope you might be clear what I told you about what is algae, their habitat and all. So in next session we will again talk about different microorganisms. Till then, thank you very much. Have a nice day.